Well, we just had our workout, and our guys are excited. We're all healthy, and such a beautiful setting. I think when our guys walked out, you know, I wanted them to know before they walked out. I said, just take a few minutes to let it all sink in, and understand there are only 4 teams in the United States, 4 men's teams who are going to experience this. So make the most of the experience. So.
Our first question is going to go in the second row here. Eddie.
Hi, Coach. Eddie Pels with AP. Congrats. Now that you're here, could you discuss some of the emotions of flying in, seeing the Superdome for the first time, but also how you balance, some of the feelings that you and your players will obviously have, and with the idea that you have a difficult task ahead of you on Saturday? How do you balance that?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's much of a balance. I think that's part of the experience. These guys are competitors. They've won over 30 games and regular season champion. The thing about all 4 teams here, all 4 teams are championship teams. They've won their region, and now you have a chance. To me, it's an opportunity, an earned opportunity. And if you feel that it's pressure, you probably won't do well in it. But if you approach it where you've earned this opportunity to go for something even bigger, then you got a chance to play well. So that's kind of how we look at it.
Coach, we're going to take our next question in the third row here with Matt in the center.
Matt Norlander, CBS Sports. Mike, I've spoken with a number of your former assistants. I wanted to ask you about a process like you've gone through over the decades here. Talked with Wojo and Collins, a guy named Billis. I don't know if you remember who that is. But your routine of after every single game, looking at the tape. Apparently you inherited it, obviously, from Bob Knight. So 2 questions. Bray said...
There wasn't tape at that time.
Reel to reel. I got it all covered.
Did you had to get that done? You didn't get it back?
Correct.
Until the next day?
Yes. So, 1, Bray said when you used to do this with Knight, you either called it the bunker or the cave of some sort, a windowless room. I was wondering if you could confirm what that was. And 2, what is it about this process that you've done after every single game over more than 4 decades that you stayed true to it? Why has it been this way and you've never kind of shifted off that work ethic and that routine?
And it's not kidding around. In order to do it after the game, you had to have videotape. And so that it changed when we were able to get that. And I've always looked at a game wasn't over until you analyzed it and were able to put a tape together of feedback for your team the next day, and then once that was given, then that game was put on a shelf, and you move forward. And it just the routine of what a game is, and then how do you prepare for the next one, and you get into that, and that's why memory of games that you've played is not as good with me, because you have always put it behind, no matter what.
On the right side of the aisle, Dana.
Dana O'Neill with The Athletic. Mike, your ability to spend kind of the summer recruiting when you normally would be out with this team, I'm not trying to discredit your relationship with previous teams, but did that make a unique emotional attachment with this group, and especially with one that's so young? Did it help?
Yeah, and when you had older teams, you could be on the road recruiting all the time because you'd have time. You already had relationships, and you're going to renew them or whatever. And I felt, the COVID year for us last year, the 2 things that, in analyzing that, I knew they were important, but they proved to be amazingly important, were relationships and preparation. And COVID robbed me of the ability to have those. And so with the succession plan we had in place, I was able to see my guys every day. And we brought our freshmen in earlier, about 3.5 weeks early, and they took a course and kind of were indoctrinated to Duke, they lived on Duke's campus longer than our freshmen of last year. So again, it's not just your program, but part of whatever school you go to, you got to know the school. Like our guys a year ago, if you're a freshman, you didn't know the school. You knew your laptop or your Zoom, whatever.
Coach, let's move up front, the left side.
Yeah, Zach Boyer from the Lawrence Journal World. Mike, I wanted to ask you a little bit about experience. You rely on 3 of your freshmen, and in the other semifinal, Villanova and Kansas don't have any underclassmen who are starters. Those 2 teams have 2,000 games between them among all their players. What is it about experience and the value of experience and how it helps you get to and handle being on this stage?
Well, there's no question that you'd rather have an older team than a younger team. But if you have a younger team, you have to get them as old as possible during the season and develop a camaraderie and that is at a level worthy enough to compete against those older teams. And we were able to do that in these first couple rounds, because we played really, really good teams and programs. Michigan State, Tom's program is exquisite, and I thought Texas Tech was as good a team as we've played against all year, and Arkansas, and our guys have grown together really well, and they're about at a level, they're at a really high level for 1 year. And that's why, we'll have it, we got a chance.
Staying in the front row in the center, Pete.
Mike, Pete Thamel from ESPN. Your first NCAA tournament game as a head coach was 1984. You've coached 131 overall. I wonder if you could reflect a little bit on your evolution as a tournament coach and a bit of the evolution of the tournament itself.
Yeah, well, the tournament keeps getting bigger, and which is great. Hopefully we don't screw up college basketball during the regular season. We're doing a good job of that, but it doesn't take away from March. I think in some respects it saves us, so maybe we don't reflect on what we do in the regular season at a deep enough level. But to see the game grow in that magnitude, it's terrific. For me, you learn from experience. So I used to get into the tournament, and this is a while ago, and I would put a 4-team, like whoever was in your weekend. And not all the time did we get out of the weekend. And I remember Coach Knight saying, you have to approach it where each game is a championship game. So then we changed that. And, it wasn't so much that we assumed, but by putting that out there, it creates an environment where you can think that there's going to be something else. I've been very fortunate to be in a lot of these games, and I don't think there's an exact formula. You just have to figure out how your team does it in this tournament, and I've enjoyed trying to figure that out with this group.
Coach, we're going to go to the third row on the left side.
Hello, Coach. Royal Howell, Carolina Blitz. As you prepare for Saturday's game, what's the best way to say this? As you prepare for Saturday's game, what are your defensive tendencies? Like, what does your team have to do to come out with a win? Your team has got hot, specifically in the tournament. You've seen a surge from Jeremy Roach. You're playing better perimeter defense. You communicating on defense, backside defense, hollows. What does your team have to do Saturday to come out with a win?
Yeah, well, quite a bit, and more so than I can answer. That's why you're studying them like crazy. I think for our guys, one, because we've played each other twice, to know that it's not the same team we played either time. You know, that they've grown and they're better. And to understand who they are at this minute. So when you go over personnel, not to say, well, yeah, they were that way. And no, they're not. They're better. And then for us to continue to play at a high level of defense that we've done in the tournament. And when we play good defense, we usually play good offense. In the tournament, we become much like we're shooting over 50%. We have incredible balance in our scoring. We have 5 guys in double figures, and Trevor's at 7, but he can be the leading scorer in a game. And so to me, that means that the offense is kind of flowing naturally because the defense is being paid such great attention to. And hopefully we can keep that going.
Coach, we'll head over to the right side with Jeff, and then we're going to go toward the center with WRAL-TV.
Not a question on this one, but you know who's next, right? When you're done here, you going to stick around for the Mark Emmert press conference? I know how close you are.
I am sitting at the edge of my chair.
Sure you are.
In
I'm
anticipation of.
We all are. We all are.
Well, is that happening really?
Yeah, you can stick around right when you're done.
I got a team to coach, but well, I hope you all bring up.
Do you have a question that you'd like us, since you won't be here?
I
to
have
ask
many
me?
questions.
I'm sure you do.
You know, where are we? I think the very first one is where are we going, and who's going to be in charge? Not that I'm saying he shouldn't be, but what are we doing? What are we doing to make sure we're taking care of all divisions that are under your roof, men, women, all sports, those that make money and those that just make men and women out of people, and probably that's more important than the other, but you have to do that. And so there's balance, and we're understanding that everyone cannot be treated the same. That doesn't mean everyone's not treated fairly. And it's a new day that should have been a new day decades ago. So we got a lot to make up for.
That was, again, not my question. I apologize, but
I thought I answered it.
You
pretty
did.
good.
You did. We'll ask him. Don't
Thank
worry.
you.
We'll ask him. Have you caught yourself thinking about what if you win 2 more, cut down the nets, and the storybook ending that could be?
Yeah, I haven't, Jeff, I have not tried to do that, because then I think you leave a hole somewhere in your preparation for the game on Saturday. I think you have to be all in on Saturday and then accept the consequences of it. And hopefully they're good for us. But I think if in approaching it that way, whatever happens, then I'll feel good about it. And it's like that bracket. It's like, not doing it that way. And, I didn't do this season to have a storybook. I did it because I wanted to coach 1 more year, and I wanted to have a good succession plan for our program. And we've won 32 games, and my guys have been terrific. So I'm very thankful that I've had this level of youngster this year. They really get along well.
Coach, we're going to go to the center of the room, just to the left.
Yeah.
WRAL-TV, did you guys have... Pass it to your right, please. My right.
Hi, Coach. Casey Hintz, WREL. A little bit off the beaten path, if you don't mind, but we've been speaking to some of your former players that have played in Final Four games, and one of those is Marty Clark. And he spoke about a call he got from you back in 2014, his alcoholism and whatnot. I'm just wondering if you could speak to what that meant to you to kind of play a role in him getting his life back on track.
Yeah, well, we're very proud of him, and he's been very public about how he changed his life, and as a result, he's now changing other people's lives. And basically, you know, the relationships that players and coaches have, not just at Duke, but in sport, are very deep, or can be very deep. And in a moment of need, a lot of times a youngster, male or female, will reach out to someone who has had an influence in their development stage. And that's what happened with Marty, and it worked out great. My daughter Debbie was really very instrumental in that. And yeah, he's doing well. He's doing real well.
Coach, all the way up to the front on the right side.
Hi, Mike. Scott Gleason with USA Today. You've talked about the journey in coaching this really young team and getting them across the bridge. I was hoping you could explain to me how important it's been to psychologically prepare them, blocking the noise out with all the pressure, and really just having those one-on-one relationships with each of them.
Yeah, you know, when you say noise, I don't think I don't think a youngster looks at noise as pressure. They look at it as noise. They like a lot of noise. That's why they like mentions and comments, and you know, their pool is not very deep, but it's very expanded. And so when we say, you know, listen to one voice, it means like I talked to him earlier this week. I said, you know, you only have so much room, mind space, where you can get in depth about anything. You can put a lot in your mind, but not necessarily deep. And so can you not put in your mind things that you will not get deep about, and get really deep about what we're doing? And not that they couldn't, but just because it's harder now. You know, the further you go, it's harder for them. And so we've talked about that, but really there's no the pressures. They don't feel pressure. You know, I'm amazed at that. You know, try to remember being that age. I would have felt pressure, and nervous, and maybe a little bit afraid. They're not. They are not. So I admire that in them, and it's not anything we taught them. They brought that to us.
Coach, that same area of the room, Adam.
Hey, Coach. Adam Zagoria, how are you?
Good, Dan.
Wanted to ask you about Tom Konchowski. If he gets named into the Hall of Fame Saturday as a contributor to join Garf, what would that mean? And do you have any inside information on whether he's going to get in?
Yeah, I don't. I knew you would ask. So like a lot of people feel I have inside information on a lot of things that I don't. But I've been a big proponent and supporter of Tom's, as I was of Garf, basically because he deserves to be in. Tom is one of a kind. He's helped tens of thousands of kids from Division III to Division I, and coaches marry up to develop those relationships that we've been talking about. And there's not anyone like him. I'm not the only one. We all benefited greatly from our friendship and our love of Tom, and so hopefully that happens.
Coach, all the way back and all the way left.
Aaron Torres, Fox Sports. So earlier, Wendell was on the stage, and I asked him about, it feels as though from a distance as though these guys kind of flipped the switch, and it seems like they're gaining more confidence every game. I know you said that the confidence that they have, you're kind of surprised by in its own right, but was there anything that happened between that ACC tournament loss and the start of the tournament? I mean, it just feels like you guys are getting better every single game.
Yeah, practice. We did not play very well for 4 games, and we're 2-2, and so they accepted. They were responsible, were accountable, and I think a lot of coaches will tell youngsters. They use the expression "trust your work," and so when you go into competition, if you haven't worked, then you have a hard time trusting yourself. But if you've worked, you can trust, but you can also, you own it. You own it more. And so they just did that. That's on them. I mean, we helped them with that, but and they've gotten better. Like our guys are playing well. I don't know how it'll all turn out, but they're playing well.
Coach, probably the last one on the right side.
Coach Chris Budden with ESPN. Over the last 2 weeks, we've seen more of the emotion, the connection with this team. I'm wondering, when you announced this would be the last season, you prepared for what would come emotionally. It's been less than, more than emotional than you prepared for, thought it would be?
Yeah, really, any emotion that I've shown, it's not been because it's my last season. It's been because of something that you've interacted with a player or the team about. If you're being emotional for it's your last season, you're really a selfish person. And although there are people out there that think I am, in this respect, I am not. I've always taught that shared emotion is the best, and to be able to share that emotion and accomplishment with these guys has been really good.
We want to thank Coach Krzyzewski for joining us here in the main interview room. Coach will be back with us tomorrow for a period before his team gets stuff on the court.
Best of luck with the next one.
Thank you, Coach.